I intend to support the Constitution of the United States. I will not fight in Vietnam.
I met so many people all around the country. I felt like I was back a freshman again. And I was very fortunate to get there and go. I really feel I made an accomplishment. Okay, into the camera, my name's John Weiland. I was in the Air Force. I was in there from 1972 through 1976. I spent 4 years all around the world. So I was brought up in a Catholic grade school, so I went 8 years there, and there was maybe 35 of us in a class. So it was really different. You had 8 classes, or eight grades, basically. And when I became a freshman, it was like a lot of freedom, because there I wasn't just in one classroom all day. I had different classrooms and different types of things where I met like 400 people. So it was like all of a sudden a big, huge, different type of thing where I'd seen people maybe on the street, I didn't get to know them, but then as things got going, I got to really know them. Plus there was a lot of good sports and things like that, and freshman year was really different for me. It was a real situation of just getting to know a lot of people, and I'm glad for Facebook because I'm still in contact with a lot of them.
This ceremony, which began at 8 o'clock, is now more than 2/3 through. There are 366 numbers to select, one for each birthday in the year, plus
October
one for
27th.
February 29th, the leap year. The ceremonies began at 8 o'clock under a bill signed just last week by President Nixon.
I heard about it at a very young age because a lot of people were going in. The media coverage was nothing like it is today. You had like 3 networks, and my parents always watched NBC, and I remember when one of the newscasters would always come on, and I remember the newspaper we had, it would show how many GIs had passed, in the war. And they would always talk about a lot of things. And then at the time, it was really pumped into us about World War II. And I remember some of the newscasters would do specials on Sundays about the war and how the Allies won. And they would compare that to Vietnam. And I remember all these generals and things like this and that, and the president, and how things were going. I knew I was going to go in, and I just wanted to hold off for a while and enjoy some of that lifestyle that, you're done with schooling, so you have some time now to relax a little bit and keep a job and, visit with family and friends and things like that. But where I was at, a lot of people were gone because they went off to college, and a lot of them went off into the service. So it was a strange situation. What happened was I was in one of the last drafts. My draft number was 53, and they said that they were going to draft up to maybe the low 70s. So I had a brother who was Air Force, and he said, that's the best way to go because you really don't want to get involved in the combat end of it. So I had friends who were in the Army and went Marines. Again, there's Navy and there's Air Force, what have you. But the Army and the Marines were the guys that really took it hard. And I feel for them, I really do. So I just said, hey, I'm going to go Air Force and hold on to it and give it my best shot. So I was very fortunate to do that. So. Well, I went to Texas for basic training. It was only 6 weeks. I met so many people all around the country. I felt like I was back a freshman again because I met so many people again. And, from all over the country. And there was 6 weeks of intense, they were drilling you, but you had physical education too. And it was 7 days a week. You only got maybe 6 hours of sleep because they really stayed on you. And you had like the drills that you did, they said that would make you follow the law, in their eyes. Because there's a civilian and there's military. It was one of these things where it was very hot there because I went in August, so it was like 105. And, you had this situation where you'd maybe march for 10 miles, you'd run for 3 miles, or, you do calisthenics, and then you'd go to classrooms and from being 105 out to being like 75 in a room. You had to do a lot of things where like maybe one day a week, your group was in a you did like KP, that means kitchen, like where you do dishes and serve people and things like that. Then there were other days where like we'd do laundry and things. So it was just kind of, really different. But then after that, it was like college life because I went to a tech school, and it was, really, really different, going from rules, laws, regulations, and policies to being free again, Okay, I went to a place called Biloxi, Mississippi. It's Keesler Air Force Base. There it's a high-tech school where it's either like administration, electronics, things that were involved in certain aspects because you had these schools all over the country. And what happened was I went there and you had 3 classes. You had an A shift, a B shift, a C shift. So you had the 6 to noon, and then you had the 12 to 6 and the 6 to midnight. I was the 12 to 6. So how that would work is we'd maybe have something we'd have to do that day. Like maybe you'd have to sweep the halls, or maybe like you might have to do kitchen duty or something like that. But you had time to study, but you had those 6 hours for training. At Biloxi, they brought me in and they said, well, okay, pick 7 stateside choices and a couple overseas. Well, at the time I said, well, I want to get back to the Midwest. So I picked 6 choices in the Midwest. And my last choice was Orlando, Florida, because I'd been down there. My buddy and I went down there when I got out of high school for a little while. I knew some people there. Well, I went in there then and got my orders. And the guy said, well, we can't really do anything for you, so we had to give you your last choice, which was Orlando, which was really paradise. And I learned at that point there how the military works. So, you never really volunteer type of thing because they're going to plan where you're going to go. And I was very fortunate to get there and go. And then after that, after Orlando, and that, by the way, was in 72, and that's right when Disney started. So, for example, I got free Disney tickets. So I could go like every other day if I wanted. I was military type of thing. When I was at Florida, it was a VIP base. So, very important person. So, like, there, everything was manicured. In other words, like you had a golf course, you had like tennis courts, you had like high-end commanders that had their own area. You had base housing for people like us right on up the line, and it was sort of segmented where they were at. You had like a lot of presidents that came in there, like Nixon used to come there. You had like a lot of the top people there from time to time. But what was unique about it was, you could just see like TV. You could see how like you had like Secret Service there all the time. What happened was when I got there, they sent me to an administrative area. It was headquarters. So what I did there was I worked with like the couriers. Those are guys, back then, it's a lot different than it is now. So how it worked was you might have somebody coming in on an aircraft who knew they were coming in, and they had like maybe some information that might be secret, top secret, or confidential. But a lot of times they had like a handcuff, and then they had it handcuffed to a briefcase, and then they came in, and we would sign them in, make sure that we had everything under control for them, and then make sure that we had control of the information. And then I ran a whole publications distribution office. It was different. It really was. I had like a lot of forms because everything in the military is a form. They have a DD form, Department of Defense, or they might have an Air Force form. And then it's like 214, or maybe it's like form number 212 or something. And everything had a reason behind it. But anyway, that was my first job there. So it was good. Can't complain. And they sent me over to Germany, and that was fun too because I was in the Hunsrück, which is the mountains, and it was like a real strategic location, and that's where I was on the Moselle River. Everybody thinks of the Rhine, but the Moselle River was like agriculture. It was like basically, it was all fenced in. You had the schools were all like the buses were camouflaged. It was a situation where, we were always told that, you'd hear aircraft flying around. We're maybe 15 minutes airtime from Moscow, as they said, whatever aircraft they had there at the time that could cover that ground. But it was a real strategic location. So it was a lot of fun, though. Saw a lot of the world. you know, at the time you always think that it's known for the beer country and the cars, and you don't really realize that it's known for, you know, the wine and all the farming they do. It's pretty neat. In Germany, you have a real post office. Everything's on base. You have a real post office. So then there, like, I would handle, like, if you went to the post office to mail something, I'd handle it. If you wanted to get stamps, say a money order, say you're looking for a package that was coming from home or you're going to send out, mainly what you're going to send out. But coming to you, we had another area, and that was across the base. And then that was the Postal Service there, where I went to work the next year. I was there for 2 years. So then I went there, and we delivered mail, put it in boxes, and gave people packages and things like that. So there was like 2 different areas I worked under one roof. And really, we weren't even a part of the Air Force. We really weren't. It was a whole different detachment type of thing. So a lot of it over there was where we could get in a car, because like you could get over there back in that day a Mercedes. I'm not saying a top line Mercedes, but you could get a car that was, I mean, really built well, and you could go down onto the river, the Moselle River, and there you could go down, and I mean, it was mountains. It was something to see, and you know, the landscape. Like, for example, if you've ever seen the movies, like a James Bond movie, and it shows down a mountain, and straight as a crow flies, it's maybe a mile. But you drive like down, because that's how they build things, and their cars are real small. You know, it might take you 4.5 miles to get down there. I mean, it was just something to see. The tough part, I think, was, again, you know, seeing family off. Holidays, I'm not going to be there, and I got used to it, because I really never ever got home for the holidays. You know, it's a sad thing, but that's how it is. So, you know, you make a sacrifice, you know. You know, Vietnam sucked a lot of people dry. A lot of people saw a lot of bad things. And there were some friends I know that really had some bad times. And I think that some of them committed suicide because they couldn't deal with what they saw and what they encountered. And I feel bad about that, I really do. There were people there who I knew that ever since like we were 3 or 4 years old, you're running around with people. And say the sandbox era. Well, what happens is that these people here really were against the war. And again, I didn't want to have the war. I didn't want to get involved in this. But they would never talk to me again to this day, because they were so much against that war. You know, and that's just how things go. But then there were people there who really realized that, you know, hey, I was in World War II, and I can relate to you coming back, and, you know, welcome back. But a lot of people in the country didn't like the military. So, you know, when we traveled, they didn't want us wearing a uniform, because we could lose our lives or be hurt from that. So it was a whole different adjustment on everything. I think the biggest thing is that I'm done now. I've done my time, and I enjoyed it. I met like a lot of people again that from all over, all walks of life, and it was just incredible. Some of the people that I met that, you know, I see now what they've done in life, or I've heard of their names somewhere, and you know, it was a point that I really feel I made an accomplishment. I feel I went through a lot. Like my dad always said, well, gee, you know, you didn't go to Canada. You weren't a conscientious objector. You know, you put your time in. You know, you didn't protest. You didn't burn your draft card. You know, you did what was asked of you of your country. So it was a good feeling. I'm just glad I did the 4 years I did. You know, I'm glad, because at the time I said, oh, it's the worst thing that can happen. But boy, you sure turn it around. And so whenever you're up against the wall, figure a way to get around the wall. You know, because there's going to be better days ahead. Trust me, there really is. Some days are bad, some days are good, but enjoy it while you can, you know. Because very soon, man, you're going to be done here.
When I first received John's story, I instantly knew that this was more than just a story of being drafted or just any other Vietnam story. I definitely knew that this was more a story of how John, as a person, could just find the best in anything. He took this extremely difficult situation and was able to turn it into an amazing learning experience where he got to travel the world and have some fun along the way. And as I sat watching his interview for the first time, not able to go to school during my senior year, all the things that I had looked forward to doing have been stripped away. I knew that I could apply these same things to my life, because I could just look at it defeated and broken, or I could decide that I was going to try to find the better situation and try to make the most of it and try to just have more fun. And for that lesson that I learned, I am forever grateful, because I am so glad that I didn't just look at this year as it's over, who cares. I am so glad that I was able to take this class and all the other classes that I got to take this year and learn so much and have as much fun as I could. And to John, for sharing his story, I am so incredibly thankful. And I'm so glad that it was the story that I ended up with, because it taught me so much and really allowed me to work on this project and put my all into it and truly make the best of my senior year, just like he was able to make the best out of being drafted.